No one noticed her at first. Under the harsh white lights of a crowded supermarket, the noise of carts and beeping scanners blurred into a dull hum. People rushed past with full baskets and distracted minds, unaware of the quiet struggle unfolding at register number 4. That was where Laura Mitchell stood, her shoulders tense, her fingers clutching a thin wallet that had seen better days. At 29, Laura was already exhausted in a way sleep never fixed. Life hadn't slowed down since the day her husband passed away, leaving her alone with a newborn and a mountain of responsibilities she never asked for. Her son, Noah, was now 8 months old, bright-eyed, curious, and dependent on a special lactose-free formula his doctor insisted was necessary. Laura knew the price of that formula by heart. She knew it the way you know the weight of the stone you carry every day. The cashier scanned her items one by one. Bread, eggs, a small pack of diapers. Each beat felt like a countdown. When the blue can of formula slid across the scanner, the total jumped higher than she could manage. "That'll be $36.40, the cashier said, already reaching for the next customer's divider. Laura swallowed. She opened her wallet, though she already knew what was inside. A few bills. Loose coins. Hope she didn't have the courage to rely on anymore. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I need to put this back." The words tasted bitter. Her hand trembled as she pushed the can of formula toward the cashier. Behind her, someone sighed loudly. Another checked their phone in annoyance. Laura kept her eyes down. She had learned that looking up only made the shame worse. What she didn't know was that someone was watching. A few steps away, pretending to read the label on a shelf of cereal, stood Daniel Harper. He wore a plain dark jacket and jeans, nothing that hinted at the fact he owned half the tech startups people used every day. At 42, Daniel was known in business circles as ruthless, brilliant, and emotionally distant. But none of that mattered right now. What mattered was a woman at the register and the look on her face as she gave up something her child needed. Beside him stood his daughter, Lily, a quiet 6-year-old with observant eyes. She tugged gently at his sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered, "why is that lady crying?" Daniel followed Lily's gaze. He saw Laura's shoulders curve inward, as if she were trying to disappear. Something tightened in his chest, a feeling he didn't often allow himself to acknowledge. "She's just having a hard moment," he said softly. Laura paid for the rest of her groceries and walked away with a single plastic bag, lighter than it should have been. She headed toward the exit, her steps slow and defeated. Daniel didn't think. He acted. He walked to the register, picked up the can of formula, and added it to his own items. He paid without looking at the total, then scanned the parking lot until he spotted Laura sitting alone on a bench near the bus stop, her bag at her feet. "Excuse me," he said gently. Laura looked up, startled. Instinctively, she pulled her bag closer. "I think this belongs to you," Daniel said, holding out the formula. Her eyes widened. "I can't take that." "I know," he replied. "That's why I bought it." For a moment, she didn't speak. Pride and desperation battled silently behind her eyes. "My son needs it," she finally said, almost to herself. "That's reason enough," Daniel answered. She accepted the bag, tears spilling freely now. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." "I think I do," he said. He offered her a ride home. She hesitated, then nodded. Too tired to argue. Lily smiled shyly at her from the back seat, and for the first time that night, Laura smiled back. At her small apartment, Daniel carried the groceries to the door. Noah babbled from his crib as Laura scooped him into her arms, relief washing over her face. "Thank you," she said again. Daniel nodded. "Take care." He left thinking that was the end of it. It wasn't. The next few weeks changed something in Laura. That single moment of kindness cracked open a door she had closed inside herself. She applied for better jobs, updated her resume, and dared to believe that survival wasn't all life had planned for her. Meanwhile, Daniel couldn't forget her either. He asked his assistant to discreetly check on her situation. Not to interfere, just understand. That's when he learned something unexpected. Laura's late husband had been a firefighter who died saving 2 children from a burning apartment building. The news hit Daniel harder than he expected. His own father had been one of the men rescued in that same fire years ago. The connection felt too strong to ignore. Using his foundation, Daniel quietly launched a new scholarship and support program for families of first responders. He named it after the firefighter who had died that night, Laura's husband. Laura learned about the program when she was invited to apply. She didn't know who created it. She only knew that she was accepted. The grant changed everything. She moved to a safer apartment. She enrolled in night classes. She started building a future instead of just enduring the present. Months later, at a small foundation event, Laura finally came face to face with the man behind it all. Daniel stood across the room, recognition dawning at the same time for both of them. "It was you," she said quietly. "Yes," he replied. But it wasn't charity. It was gratitude. They talked for hours that night, about loss, about parenthood, about the strange ways life weaves people together. Time passed. Laura graduated. She began working with the foundation, helping other families the way she had been helped. Daniel watched her grow into a confident, capable woman who carried her past with strength instead of sorrow. Their friendship deepened naturally, patiently, built on respect rather than rescue. 2 years later, they sat on a park bench watching Noah and Lily race across the grass, laughter filling the air. All of this, Laura said softly, started with a kind of formula. Daniel smiled. No, it started with someone refusing to look away. She leaned against him, grateful, not just for what he'd given her, but for what he had seen in her when the world had not. Sometimes, the smallest moments carry the greatest echoes. And sometimes, a single act of kindness doesn't just change one life. It changes generations.